Hello. You're listening to Community Matters, and I'm a little bit late here. My apologies. This is Becky, your host for this afternoon. For the next 2 hours, we'll be talking with some very interesting people, especially in our second hour. 3 o'clock, we'll have guest Miss Nancy Sondel from Oasis Ranch, a fabulous project down in the Watsonville area serving underserved youth with mental health issues. She will be joined by Ely Suarez, training manager at Suicide Prevention Services of the Central Coast, and also West Mossgrove, former assistant director for the Suicide and Crisis Line, and Mr. Xaloc Cabanes, who heads up the Santa Cruz County Behavioral Health Advisory Board and is on staff at the Santa Cruz County Office of Education in the wing of the Alternative Education. All of these good people will be joining us in the second hour, so please stay tuned. We'll be talking about the status of mental health in our youth and what we can do to help them, what we can do to recognize when they do need help and maybe cannot ask for it, and what is available locally to help them. My focal point will be the wonderful art therapy, nature therapy support that Project Oasis, founded by Nancy Sondel, will be providing, and that's at no cost to those who need it and their families. So do stay tuned for that in our second hour, coming on after the news break at 3:06. I do also want to thank you all for tuning in to Community Matters on such a faithful basis. And I hope that you'll call in. I'll get the call-in studio linked up here in a moment. I apologize. I came into the studio a bit late. Trying to finish up a big writing project I've got, which I almost got done. Done enough. I want to also give a shout out to our wonderful facilities here, the Satellite Work and Digital Media Center. That's at 326 Soquel Avenue in Santa Cruz. That's between Ocean Street and the river, San Lorenzo River. Today is the first Friday, so on First Fridays you get to come in and check this place out and use it for free. It is available for rent throughout the year, and I cannot say enough good about this lovely place. It is clean, quiet, very secure, and excellent staff here to greet you as you come in, but you can come in at all hours once you are a paid client, and it's a very lovely place. We're honored. Santa Cruz Voice is honored to have our studio here in Satellite Work and Digital Media Center that we share with community television, another great gem in our community. They do recordings of many local government meetings. So if you cannot be at the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors meeting at 701 Ocean Street on 9 a.m. on Tuesdays, it's recorded thanks to community television, and you can find those meetings on the Government on Demand feature of community television website. So many thanks to their good work. Speaking of the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors, they're meeting next Tuesday. Usually they only have one meeting in the month of December. This year they're having two. So the first is next Tuesday, December 10th, and it's at that lovely convenient time for all the working people at 9 a.m. Tuesday. They meet in person and also remotely. You can find their agendas by doing a search for Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors, and off on the left bar, when you see the smiling faces of those five 5 fellows there, which is soon going to change. There'll be 2 women on that smiling board. Off on the left, you'll see meetings and agendas. And if you click on agendas, they'll come up with the December 10th date. You can click on that and there see the entire agenda. It is very handy that it is not all, you don't have to download it all. You can click on a particular item and the documents for that item will come up. As is customary on the December agenda for the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors, it is a packed agenda. I want to talk today a little bit about one item on there that I've been following as it has come through various water advisory commissions. On Tuesday's agenda, it will be item 10. It is listed as this: considering approving in concept. In concept, that means they don't have it all hammered out yet, but they're going to approve it anyway. An ordinance amending Chapter 7.70 of the Santa Cruz County Code relating to wells and borings. The word borings is new. And ordinance amending Chapter 7.73 of the Santa Cruz County Code relating to individual water systems. To be consistent with state policy, approve California Environmental Quality Act exemption, which I have a little bit of a problem with, and take related actions. This is being put on by the Health Services Agency. And if you click on that, you'll see the staff report. You'll see a number of documents that are available to click on and read. I encourage you to click on the code update, strike out and underline for both of these ordinances. And that will show you what is being added and what is being deleted. I have before me the printed out version of these 2 codes. And I'm going to talk a little bit about this, and here's why I think it's important for anyone in Santa Cruz County who has a private well or is maybe on a system where you share a well with a few neighbors, because this law is going to apply to you, potentially. And there are areas of the county that have been identified in a map that are not included in the board's agenda packet. I might add it. You can find it, and I'll tell you in a little bit. But there is this map that identifies groundwater extraction concern areas. It shows a map of Santa Cruz County. It shows the outlines of the 3 groundwater sustainable agencies, which have been mandated by the state to be formed and submit a plan for how groundwater will be managed and become sustainable by 2040. On this map, there are pink areas. The largest ones are up in the Summit area. So if you live up in the Summit area, take note. Because in these areas, in these groundwater extraction concern areas, this new code says that you would not be able to get a permit from the county to restore your existing well or to drill a supplemental well. Now, what does that leave you with? Well, that's the big question, isn't it? This ordinance has come before a number of agencies. It's taken a couple of years for it to get it to this point, and it has come about because of a letter that was sent to the County of Santa Cruz Board of Supervisors. It showed up in correspondence of the county supervisor meeting, stating that it was from a state agency, stating that the well ordinance was not in compliance with state policy to preserve streams. So if you had a well or have a well near a stream, you may be in trouble because they're looking at these issues that would looking at your well and how much water you extract from it. They're looking at requiring yearly reports to require you to tell the state how much water you're pumping. And if at any point the public health officer, which is a change from what it has been, the public health officer determines that there is a water emergency, then you may not be allowed to get a permit to do anything further on your well. Most likely you would be required to have a meter if you don't have one already, and to report all that. Now, I'm looking at, you might want to jot this down. There are 2 chapters. I'm looking at chapter 7.70 that was water wells. Now it is just going to be called wells and borings. Now that's an interesting addition, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. But for now, the issue that concerns me here is in this code in this chapter 7.70, chapter 7.70110, resource protection. And this is in section J. The reason I encourage you to look at the strikeout underline is because the new is in red, and that's where you see what is new. And I'm looking on page 13 of this, section J, where it says, new supplemental or replacement wells shall not be constructed within a designated control zone for a groundwater management project. So if you wanted to maybe have a recharge for maybe collecting rainwater and having it seep in, that might be a problem for you. A permit shall be required to change the use of a well when the change would cause the well to no longer meet the definition of a de minimis well, and that's anything under 2 acre-feet per year. So if you wanted to start growing a bunch of food on your property and maybe selling some of it to your neighbors or bartering some of it, that would be considered a change in use. The recent County Water Advisory Commission discussed this a little bit, and this was brought up by some areas up in near these areas of concern, wanting to change to become vineyards with tasting rooms. And so that's sort of what prompted that. I also want to talk with you a little bit about this addition of borings and just get you thinking. Again, I hope that if you have a well, or you share a well, or you know someone who does, I urge you to tune in to the Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors meeting next Tuesday. That's at 9 a.m. You can go there in person on the 5th floor, or you can be there remotely by going to the website. Again, that's Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors, and click on the December 10th agenda. And there you will see at the top of the agenda, you will see the information on how to connect, both by telephone or by computer. You can also, if you, so I urge you to do that. It's unknown exactly when this item will be considered by the Board of Supervisors. It is item number 10. And before that, there are a number of very significant other ordinance changes. So you'll kind of have to listen Unfortunately, it can tie up your morning. If you don't want to do that, you can submit written comment, but I urge you to do it sooner rather than later, because sending it the day of, it is guaranteed the board members will not read it. If you send it today or tomorrow, they might read it, but you never know. If you can send it directly to your supervisor, that's the best, and hope that that fellow will represent you and your concerns and at least ask the questions that you are asking or want to know more about. The issue of borings expands permits you have to get one for borings. Well, what does that mean? It could be if you wanted to drill a test boring to see for geologic purposes. Maybe you want to build something and you need to do a test boring for foundation. Well, you'd have to get a permit. And the county wants to be there to make sure that you're not going to contaminate the groundwater, which is not a bad idea. But if you're a building contractor and you're trying to coordinate everything, having to coordinate with an environmental health specialist to come out and make sure that this boring is not going to cause problems with any wells or anything could be a problem. In this chapter, and this is 7.70, I'm sorry, let me do it again, 7.70.02 definitions. Control zone means an area around a groundwater management project where well drilling is prohibited. Control zones are defined by water district and or groundwater sustainability agency in order to comply with state health and safety requirements. But it is also, as I learned Wednesday at the County Water Advisory Commission meeting, it's also one of the control zones is around the Soquel Creek Water District Pure Water Soquel injection areas. If you don't know about that project, let me just give a brief summary. It was approved by Soquel Creek Water District Board in 2018 with actually insufficient information, in my opinion. And but the push was to hurry and get it applied for to get grant money from the state. So they did that. And the gist of it is that the project takes secondary treated sewage water from Santa Cruz, pipes it down to the new advanced water treatment plant across from the sheriff's station, that big building with the big white golf ball on top you see from the highway, and now the new pedestrian overpass with the whale motifs on it. The other thing right there is the Pure Water Soquel Advanced Water Treatment Plant. It's at the intersection of Soquel Avenue, Frontage Road, and Chanticleer. There, the water would be treated with membrane filtration, reverse osmosis, which is a real energy hog, and that's the word of their consulting engineer from Corollo, energy hog, to push the water through these membranes and in theory filter out a lot of stuff. And then it goes to ultraviolet, and then it gets oxygen treated too. They had to add the oxygen treatment because the water, once they found out a little more about how dirty the sewage water is after secondary treatment, they had to add in that oxygen treatment. They'll be making their own, it's ozone, they'll be making their own ozone there. There will be large trucks with liquid oxygen coming into that facility once it's operational, which is anticipated to start up March of next year. And they'll be making their own ozone, and the idea is to clean it up. I take umbrage with the language that Soquel Creek Water District's former manager called it distilled water. It is not distilled water. It is not that clean. There are many chemicals that they cannot remove. Some very surprising ones: caffeine, sucralose, DEET, the insect repellent, ibuprofen, and then some others that are chemical names. They cannot be removed completely. And then from that treatment plant, the so-called purified water will be pumped further south to 3 pressure injection wells, one at Twin Lakes Baptist Church near Cabrillo College, one near Willowbrook Park in Aptos, and one on Monterey Avenue, pretty close to New Brighton Middle School. It'll be pressure injected into those areas, as opposed to what their former board member Bruce Daniels had assured the public it was going to be gravity feed. That was never the case. So it will be pressure injected into the aquifer. This was Soquel Creek Water District got their permit to do this about a year ago from the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board. And part of them getting their permit, as I understand now, is that the county would create this control zone around these injection wells. So no existing wells will be able to have a permit to get replaced or to drill supplemental, and that's going to affect some people. Let me tell you who it's going to affect that I know of, and there are probably others that I don't know of because not everybody is aware of this project, and the location of private domestic wells is not always known. But the one that I'm most worried about is the Pine Tree Lane Mutual Water Company, and it's just across the freeway from the Twin Lakes injection well for the Pure Water Soquel project. And another small water company, they're called Bluff Water Company. And then there are some private domestic wells in that area too. Those folks are down gradient of the flow of the groundwater from this injection well. The injection well will degrade the quality of the groundwater, and that was the opinion in the staff report of the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board when they permitted it last December, knowing that it will inject nitrate, knowing that it will inject a rather high level of chloride. Now, I think it's interesting that, and as well as those other compounds that cannot be removed completely, I think it's rather interesting to note that this project is being touted as a way to hold back the seawater. There have been no real studies to verify the state calling this a critically overdrafted area, and that surprises a lot of people. But if you dig into research and studies from back in the 70s when the state decided to start determining groundwater overdraft status, it's called Bulletin 118. The County of Santa Cruz, a board member from the County of Santa Cruz and a city council member from the City of Santa Cruz requested that the state declare the groundwater aquifer in the Mid-County area as critically overdrafted. And that was a way to control growth. And it worked a long time. But there was never any formal study to prove that. And recent studies have shown that the groundwater levels are increasing or stable. That is in the report of the the Mid-County Groundwater Agency, which is a consortium of Soquel Creek Water District, Central Water District, the County of Santa Cruz, and the City of Santa Cruz. Those 4 agencies work together to form the Mid-County Groundwater Agency. And they came up with this plan, and being that Soquel Creek Water District is the largest pumper in there and pay the most money, of course they said the Pure Water Soquel project is the savior of it all. And it will inject a lot of water into the aquifer. But let me tell you that a staff member of the State Water Board told me, when I asked him for the studies that verified that the Purissima aquifer in the Mid-County area was in critical overdraft, he laughed. He said there never were any. There never were any. And he said, don't bother to file a Public Records Act request because you'll get nothing. There was nothing. And he was right. I did file a Public Records Act request, and there was nothing. So the sky is falling attitude, and this big project, very expensive project, Pure Water Soquel project, is going to be an energy hog, as Carollo engineers called it. It is going to degrade the Purissima aquifer, the high quality water of that aquifer, as the Central Coast Regional Water Quality Control Board staff said. But they're permitting it anyway. And it's caused the ratepayers of Soquel Creek Water District to have exorbitant rate increases to pay for all of it. Even though the district got state grants and low-cost loans, it is still very expensive. Initially, the anticipated cost was $60 million. It is now almost $200 million. And I might add, because of the energy hog, reverse osmosis, and the high dependency of chemicals, the operational cost will be over $6 million a year when it was initially anticipated to be around $2 million a year. So that's my long-winded summary of this Pure Water Soquel project, and why, if you live in the area of the injection well, one of the 3 injection wells for that project, you are now considered to be in a control zone. And your rights to your water, to your wells, is gone. Depending on what the County Board of Supervisors say, there's not much you can do about this, because I was told that it was a condition. Creating a control zone around the Pure Water Soquel project injection areas was a condition of the state granting their permit to inject this stuff. So I hope that you will share this information with others. Anyone with a private well needs to know about this, and I hope that you will tune in to next Tuesday's Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisor meeting. That's at 9 a.m. 5th floor of the county building at 701 Ocean Street. Look at the agenda packet and click on to those areas, those documents, chapters 7.6